Right, welcome back to Stephen Sulley Study. As everybody knows, my life is basically, by my family, split into two. It's training, but specifically boxing. And it's also work and business. And I think both of them, in my mind, go hand in hand. My next guest is someone that ticks the boxes. Anthony Ogogo. You're actually someone that I've actually seen fight, because in the 2012 Olympic Games, I was down there. My wife now, but back then she was just my girlfriend. She surprised me by getting me some boxing tickets. So it's a great honor to have you on the podcast. And I'm really interested talking about your journey. I want to give a little nod and a little appreciation to my cousin John Pierce, because Plan Positive is a really good podcast that you guys done. I listened to it this morning on my run, and I think that podcast really. I've watched you and followed your journey, but having a podcast like that, I got to know you a bit better, and I found out things that I never knew about you. So hopefully we can dig a little bit deeper today, Anthony. All right.
Thank you. Cheers, mate. Thank you. Well, firstly, thank you for having me on the podcast today. I really appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out on Instagram last week. And yeah, mate, let's go. Let's have some fun.
Cool. I'm going to start differently to what John did. I'm actually going to start where you are right now as far as your profession, because I think most people know you as, well, I don't know about America, but if I were to, I mean, I've got, people in the studio, my art studio, and when I mention your name, they say, yeah, the professional boxer. And I still don't think a lot of people realize that you've taken, well, in my circle anyway, I can't speak for everybody else, but they still see you as a boxer. So really your title is like an athlete now. You're a household name in the wrestling sector. So I also want to say this to you. You're known as the governor. Is that right?
The governor. The governor of AEW. Yeah, that's right.
So when I say the governor, do you know who it reminds me of? Lenny McLean.
Lenny McLean,
yeah. He had a book called The Governor, which I read. And what I love about Lenny McLean, apart from his great role in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, which I think authentic character, are absolute G in that. But his street fighting, I think he fought, what's his name? Roy Shaw. And he had a few professional boxing matches where I think he headbutted people and stuff. And that name, the governor, just reminds me of him. So was that a bit of a nod towards him, or was it just
100%? So first things first, mate. Going back a few clicks. So yeah, mate, it's mad. So I've had, and I'm sure we're going to get into it in the next hour or so. But I've had a mad career. I used to get really, and I'll be very open and honest, as I always am in this interview. And I'll talk about the kind of waves of bitterness that I felt, regret, amazing happiness as well. Yeah, I've had quite a short career, but a lot of shit has been wrapped up in that career. So, mate, people still, this frustrates me. Used to anyway. Not so much now, but used to really piss me off. So I was a pro I turned my first pro in 2012, my first fight 2013. My last fight was 2016. So I was active pro for 3 years. In that 3 years, I was out for 18 months, 2 years. I wasn't active at all. I had so many bad injuries, such bad luck. It was a real shame. But but I stayed pro for 3 more years. I had 9 surgeries on a bad eye injury to get back in the ring, and I couldn't get back. I was always being referred to as Anthony Ogogo, the Olympic boxer, when I was a pro. And that pissed me off. Because nobody worked as hard as me. Nobody wanted as much as me. Nobody was prepared to pay the price that I was prepared to pay. And so that wound me up. So now people know me as the professional boxer. Now I'm a wrestler. So it's I'm always one career in a whiz. But yes, mate, I'm now out in the States, or back and forwards from home and out in the States. I wrestle for a company called All Elite Wrestling, AEW. And all wrestlers need a moniker, right? We call it a gimmick in wrestling, a persona. And I've been calling myself the governor for as long as I can remember, because I remember when I was a kid, I used to love, I'm a Norwich City fan, big football fan, supported Norwich City. And my 2 favourite players were Ryan Giggs and Paul Ince. I love Paul Ince. And he called himself the governor. And I just thought it was really cool. And I was a centre midfielder as well, box to box, like Paul Ince. So I just think I was Paul Ince. So I called myself the governor for years and years and years. And I think in boxing, I'm quite old school in a lot of my outlooks. And back in the day, boxers wouldn't call themselves like names. They'd wait for the press to call him. Like Muhammad Ali aside, the greatest, his whole gimmick was being arrogant and cocky as possible. But like Nigel Benn, the Dark Destroyer, that was bestowed upon him by the media, by the press. And I wanted that to be bestowed upon me as well, my nickname. And because I was always injured and, I never got into my rhythm as a pro boxer. So when I thought I'm going to turn and became a wrestler, I thought I'm going to call myself what I've been calling myself since I was in year 4. So I remember the governor, massive nod to Lenny McLean. What's an hard bastard, right? What's an hard bastard? And yeah, in America, they don't know if you're from East London, from East Shropshire. They ain't. So to them, everyone's from London. So I thought, I'll go with the governor.
What I love about Lenny McLean, and I've said this a few times actually, back in his era, it was almost like men were men and females were females. And I know things have changed slightly, but like you just said, one hard motherfucking bastard. And wouldn't been afraid of anybody or anything. I remember reading his book, and he said that he was fighting, I think, even a big traveller, and this guy was much bigger than Lenny McLean. And Lenny McLean was a big guy, like a beast of a man. And he said that he was smashing this guy. The guy had his guard up, wasn't getting through. And anyway, he's dropped his hands, turned around. The guy's sort of dropped his hands in disbelief. He's turned around and clumped him and knocked him out. And the way he describes it in the book is just so old school. Like he's hard as like, as any man can be, like a rusty old nail. He's so tough. So when I saw that persona name of yours, I instantly thought of him. So look,
what I liked about that though, Steve, was like back in the day, the old school mentality. You'd have a punch up, and then be like, "Oh, cool, it's done now."
Yeah.
Whatever beef we had is done. Go in a pub, see each other, mate. I drink a beer. Whereas now it's like you have an argument, someone gets stabbed. It's like people die, and mothers are left without a son, and And you mentioned me, Lenny McLean was an old school man, and I like that. And there's a lot of elements about the old school that I really like, and traditions that I think should be kept. But I like how I'm a feminist in the fact that I believe like not just men and women, everyone's equal, man. Like
absolutely,
I think we're all equal as individuals. And without getting too deep in a different tangent, I think everyone should be treated for how they are: black, white, Asian. If you're a nice person, be a nice person. If you're a dick, then you're a dick. It doesn't matter if you're black or white or whatever, you're just a dick. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, that's on a different tangent. But yeah, then we're playing there. The governor was from him in Portland.
Yeah, well, just on that small segment there, I totally agree with you. Like back in the day, if you had a punch up with someone, it was literally one-on-one, have a fight, whoever won, pick the other person up, and then you shook hands and, you went your separate ways. And I'm not saying that knife crime has gone out of control because they've not got boxing in schools anymore. But if you look at the facts, like when they took boxing really out of schools, public schools around the country, I personally think people start, I don't know, it's the rise of social media. It's the rise of kids thinking that they don't feel part of a family or part of a unit. They go to these gangs and then turn to knife crime. And part of my mission is, I used to box for Bromley and Downham, ABC, had a few good fights for them, and I still go back down there now, and I've actually funded into the club because a few times they were going to shut down, and the reason why I wanted to keep it open, because if you look at youth centres or boxing clubs when they shut down in certain deprived areas, Downham isn't the roughest, but it's a bit edgy in some places. Knife crime or just crime in general goes up because the kids get bored. And I would love eventually for boxing to be brought back in, because people got a misconception about boxing. They think it's just violent. They just think it's about punching each other. It's not. It's about control. It's about self-discipline, self-respect, respect for your opponent or peers. And again, whether a traveller gets in a ring, whether someone's black or white, Asian, whether it's a female getting into a ring, I have respect for anybody that gets into that ring, because it takes a lot of encouragement. It takes a lot of discipline. And I just think, I think part of the problem could be eradicated through things like boxing coming back into school. So,
but yeah, I couldn't agree more. Ultimately, people want to feel in in a tribe. We're tribal like beings. Like that's going back to our, and hundreds of thousands of years. We're tribal beings. And when you go like join a boxing club, you're part of a tribe. You're part of a club. You're part of a fraternity or something, right? And you revel in that. And you're right, mate. Like people don't realize what boxing can give. And the main thing is respect, like you said. Like respect for yourself first and foremost. A lot of working class kids haven't got that. Maybe come from broken homes. They don't really respect themselves. Respect for other people, elders, their bodies, the sport, mate, discipline, mate. I I often encourage people to do like white collar boxing. Just have a fight, because I personally think everybody should have a fight at least once in their life. I say a fight, obviously a controlled 3 2-minute round like boxing, like contest, because you learn so much about yourself. Training and obviously safe, and you're matched up properly. Like I don't condone all these cowboy lunatics spitting in mismatches. That's bad. People get hurt. But a novice and a novice with no prior experience training together, there's only so good one can get in 12 weeks. You train hard, then you fight. And then I think you learn so much about yourself in that. You learn in training, do you want to get up in the morning and go for the run when it's wet and it's cold and you don't want to do it? The ones that are successful in life, they do it. The ones that aren't, they don't. They sack off at the earliest opportunity. Then in a fight, when you're getting hit and you're tired and you don't want to get hit anymore, your mum and dad are down there, your friends are there, are you going to swallow it and lose? Which is fine. It's not a problem. In life, we need people to lose. Not everyone can be a winner. Or you're going to bite down the gum shield and you're going to fight. And I think you learn a lot about a character in a situation like that. So I recommend everyone should do it just for themselves, to prove what it is they've got within them.
Definitely. I mean, again, we're going off on a side note here, but in business and boxing, I mean, sports in general, yes, but combat sports, maybe UFC, like MMA, I've never done that, but let's say more boxing, which I've done since I was about 14 years of age. If you think about it, over a 12-round fight, it's a bit like the lifetime of a business. The business is not always going to be on the front foot. It's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be plain sailing. Sometimes a recession, COVID-19, lockdown, or some wacky thing will come out the blue and you'll be on the back foot. And only really then can you measure how successful a business is, because can it survive? Can it get through this? Can it adapt? Can it tweak? Can it change its style? And boxing helps you do that, because if you can adapt when you're being attacked and bombs are being thrown at you, but you can weather that storm and come back methodically and come back with a strategy, hats off to you, because that is, for me, that's one of the most important mindsets to have in boxing and business.
100%, mate. I always say, boxing, when I do a bit of motivational speaking as well, and I talk about my life and times in career to help inspire others. And I always say boxing is a snapshot of life. The things we go through in the contest, the good bits, the bad bits, getting knocked down, getting back up, that's 100% echoed in life, be it business, be it just life, personal stuff, situations, a marriage. You can't always be good. It can't always be good. And when things do get shit, what do you do? Do you throw the towel in, or do you bite down the gum shield? You get up and you carry on fighting. And that is essentially how winning is done, to steal a quote from Rocky Balboa.
Definitely. So your transition, right, from if I had 2 pictures of you right now, one of you at the Olympics or as a pro boxer to where you are right now, obviously it's you, but it's like 2 different profiles. I mean, I think when I read up, you weigh about 100 kg now.
Yeah. So this morning I was 228. No, it was 232 pounds this morning, which is 220 pounds is 100 kilos. So it's 12 pounds. Yeah, 104 kilos, 105 kilos. Mate, the funny thing is, me and my wife always laugh at this. So I'll look at pictures when I was boxing, and in my head, I thought I was huge. In my head, I thought I was a monster. I thought I was a machine. I thought I was at the time, the size of me. Oh, look at me. I thought I was an absolute unit, right? And I was saying to my wife, why didn't you tell me I was so skinny? She never told me. Look back at pictures now and go, oh. Like my elbows are really sharp. Like when you can see my ribs. I look horrible, but in my head, that's what I thought I was a fucking unit.
Yeah.
So funny. But listen, mate, I was just like, I'm one of the, I'm very proud to say that I'm 100% clean. Some people, like, there's been history of drug abuse in wrestling.
In all sports, to be honest. But what I was trying to get at is like, you're training from a wrestler in comparison to a Olympian and pro boxer, and also your nutrition. Because I think people will just look at from an outsider, go, oh, they're a pro wrestler, so they assume they do this, or they're a pro boxer, they assume they do that. I have a little insight to it because obviously I'm training for a fight, I'm losing weight. I think you're slightly taller than me. We're similar sort of age. I'm 3 years older than you, but you're way heavier than me. I weighed myself last night and I was 77.9 kg. I've got to get down to 75. So I think you were super middleweight or middleweight?
I was 75 kilos middleweight, and then the middleweight as a pro was 72.5 kilos, so 11 stone 6.
Okay.
So I was a middleweight. So, but my height, it just pisses me off. This really winds me up. On the internet, on Wikipedia, it says I'm 5'11" and a half, and that fucking pisses me off. I'm 6'2". I'm way bigger than they give me credit for, and I've spoken to people at Wikipedia saying that, mate, to fucking change my height. I'm 6'2", please. It's annoying me. And they don't. And then I once changed it myself. Then the next day it got changed back. I'm like, fuck, like what have I got to do? Stand on one of those height things and then measure myself and put it online. And so when I first joined AEW, have you heard of Chris Jericho?
Yeah. Chris
Jericho, huge wrestler, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. So good, a genuine legend of the business. He's the first big mega star to join AEW, and he was putting a team together. His little group. They wanted Chris Jericho, a young up and comer, a tag team, and one big. They call it a heater in wrestling, a big tough guy to like look after the group. And the boss, Tony Khan, he wanted me to be the heater, the big tough guy. Then Jericho, and he said to Jericho, "Oh, Anthony Ogogo, sign this boxer. He's gonna make a transition to wrestler. The first year, he could be the muscle in your group." And Jericho went on he must have Googled me, right? It says I'm 5'11". Sent pictures of me, 160 pounds, skinny as a fucking rake, and went, "Nah, he's far too small. I don't want him." So when I came to America, eventually came to America, and I was like way bigger than I am. We met over in the lift. He was like, "Oh, you're pretty big." I was like, "Oh yeah." But at this point, I didn't know he turned me down. But I learned that. To be fair, he said it on his own podcast. He was like, "I didn't want him. He was too small." When he saw me, I was obviously way bigger. But it made the training is different. And so we started this call today at 9 my time in the US. I'm on my second breakfast already. I've gone from being 6'2", working my ass off to make 160 pounds, which is 11 stone 6, 72.5 kilograms, which literally almost killed me. Not literally, obviously, but almost killed me metaphorically. And then training my ass off, barely eating one thing a day, and I mean, you'll know this from obviously your training now, but obviously even more so at the elite level, you're not just losing weight, any Tom, Dick or Harry can lose weight. You're losing weight, be sparring 15 rounds a day, you're doing a run in the morning, you're doing your weights in the afternoon, you're training at night, you're not just losing weight, but you've got to perform as well, whilst in a massive calorie deficit. So I've just gone from, people say to me, must be really nice to be able to eat what you want now, or eat loads now. I'm like, no, because I've gone from barely eating anything and trying to lose weight to eating everything and putting on weight. And my diet itself is like a bloody full-time job, cooking and this and that. It's like eating 5 times a day, stresses me out. So I just look forward to the day I can just be normal. I can tell you a normal training regimen, a normal diet, but yeah, I've gone from only basically doing cardio and a small bit of weight, not to put any muscle on, but literally being a cardio fiend, to now I feel sick when I look at the treadmill. Now I pretty much just do weights and wrestle. The odd bike session or row session just to keep my heart and lungs healthy. And wrestling is very hard as well. You get gassed quite quick if because you got all the performance side of things and you're thinking about stuff. So you got to obviously be fit, like cardio wise as well. So I do a little bit, but I could never go for a run again. And all the years of cardio I did as a boxer, my engine's still really good from all the years I did. So, yeah, man, the training is really intense. It's really hard, very different. But yeah, it's good fun.
So, like an amateur boxer, what if you're like a casual boxing fan or someone that's never got into boxing? And I hope you will verify this, but it's both boxing, amateur boxing, and pro boxing, but they are different. When you're in it, they are different. One's a bit like fencing a bit, like when I was an amateur, it's like in, out, in, out, in, out. And then the pro, I mean, you can get pulled into like proper fights and you're there a bit more to hurt each other. And then wrestling is a completely different sport altogether. And I remember when I used to fight for Bromley and Downham, I think I had 10 fights for them. Reg Foster, who was running it at the time, and Richard Foster, his son, they used to be very against doing weights, very against it. And then when I went over to start training with, I'm at Boxing Booth now, which is Adam Booth's gym, and I started training with these sort of type of guys. Doing weights is actually like really, really important to give you that core strength and power. And I used to train with Ruben Tabarez, which is David Hayes' old strength and conditioning, and I think he helped George Groves out a couple of times and stuff. And he was talking about getting the power. So talk to me about the difference between like maybe doing amateur boxing weights, then maybe pro, and now as a pro wrestler, because you're not trying to do hypertrophy as a pro boxer because you don't want to bulk up and become a bodybuilder, but you need that power to knock people out, or if you get chinned, to weather it. So I like learning about the different kind of techniques that someone like you has gone through over the years.
Mate, that's a really good question. That's a great question. I'm not being condescending, but well done for that. I've never been asked that one before, and that's really quite interesting. Okay, so I was a bit different. You're right, mate. Boxing, I often say, is like a dinosaur sport, right? It's the most unprofessional professional sports, right? Both amateur and professional. It's like one of those sports where, like, I'm a big football fan. Like the Premier League players now, they train so different to 30 years ago. Back in the day, they go training, have a kickabout, do a few keep-uppies, play a game in training, go to the pub, have a few jars, happy days. Now they're athletes because training in sports science and sports medicine has moved on tenfold. So most amateur coaches, they train, let's say most amateur coaches now, let's say they're 40, right? They trained, like they'll pretty much, most of them, again, not all, like some are really, really, really sharp, but a lot of them will do what they were taught as a kid 25, 30 years ago from their coaches that were 70 now, when they were 40, and they coach how they were taught 25 years before that. So it's like, it doesn't really change. People think, doing weights is bad, you get too bulky, be too slow, like Frank Bruno. No, Frank, legend of British boxing, he was just big and bulky and slow. They don't get like him. When you learn, like, on the Great Britain team, I love Frank, what a fighter. On the Great Britain team, we were very high tech and we knew what we were doing. And you can do weights, it's just got to be the right weights. Like you said, you wouldn't do hypertrophy sessions. You wouldn't go and do 5 sets of 12 reps and put muscle on because, one, most boxers don't eat enough to repair themselves, to recover, because like they're trying to lose weight. So you go and bash your muscles up and smash them all up and, tear your muscles, which you do when you lift weights. If you don't put the nutrition in to repair the muscles, they're not going to grow. They're just going to get sore. You're just going to get injured. So what I would do on the squad, I always work really hard. I always worked really in every session I did. Probably led to some of my downfalls, some of my injuries. I think I wanted it too much and I worked too hard. And looking back now, with the intelligence I have now, looking back, I was definitely overtraining. Because in my head, it was like work ethic. If you work hard, you'll be the best. If you want to become better, you train harder. And that is correct. But you've also got to train smart. And I didn't know about training smart then. I wanted it so bad. and I definitely overtrained. I wasn't letting my body recover, and I got injuries. And I just didn't know any better. And I think I said it 3 times now. I wanted it too much. But weights, like what I would do in the pros and in the amateur, the Olympic team, heavy weights, low reps, 4 or 5 sets, maybe 3 reps, max, never more than 7. Depends how heavy. So you got that power because you want to be strong. A couple of reasons. You want to be strong to hurt people. You want to be robust to take punishment. And also you want to be strong, like, because if you, let's say any muscle, let's say your hamstring, right? If you've got strong hamstrings and you go and do sprints and you're working really, really hard, you're probably not going to tear your hamstring. If you're doing sprints and you've got a weak hamstring, you might tear it and you're out for 3 months. And those 3 months you're not training, your opponents are in the gym training, getting better and better, honing their skills. You're in the gym doing rehab. They've got 3 months better at boxing. You've got the end of the 3 months and you're back where you were 6 months ago, before you hurt yourself. So I didn't look at it like this, but like a lot of training is you're preparing your body to be able to go and do the task in the gym. And I think, one of my downfalls was I was on the Great Britain team. I was, so we grouped everybody. We had like the lighter guys, the like medium-ish guys, and the heavy guys. I was in the medium-ish guys. There's the light welterweight, middleweight, right? Then you had the light heavyweights, and super heavyweights. Like I was way stronger and trained harder in the gym than Obed Bukongo, who was the light heavyweight. So we switched. So I'd be in the gym training with me, lifting, similar weights, same weights, with me, Anthony Joshua, and Simon Valili. He was 91 kilos. Joshua was probably 110 at the time. I was 75. But I'd be in their group because I wanted it so bad. Now looking back, I probably could have held a little bit back and saved myself for the spar that afternoon and for the boxing work. But I went all guns blazing for every session. And I think it was good for me in many aspects. It taught me a lot about myself. I think it just speaks volumes to the person I am and my mentality. But boxing-wise, if I could go back and do it again, I'd probably kind of rein some things in here and there to keep me fresher for the actual boxing. But now as a professional wrestler, pretty much everything I do is hypertrophy sessions. Like everything I do is 4 sets of 12 to 15, heavy weights, lots of reps. Or I'm on a program at the minute where I'm doing 3 sets. 3 sets of everything I do, 3 sets. But it's to failure. Like every set is to failure. So I might get 14 the first set, 10 the second set. And if I do less than 8 on my last set, it's too heavy. I've got to drop the weight. If I do more than 15 in the last set, then it's too light. I've got to up the weight. So between 8 and 15 reps, I'm like aiming for, but it's literally to failure. So every time I work a muscle, I'm smashing it to bits and then crack on again a few days later. So yeah, very different. I've enjoyed answering that question. Haven't had that one before.
All right, good stuff. I definitely agree with you about boxing, amateur and also professional in this country. I can't really speak about different places around the world, but definitely over here in the UK, it is very prehistoric, very dinosaur. I'll give you a little story. When I was an amateur at Bromley and Downham, this is how old school the mentality was. You wasn't allowed to drink 1 drop of water in the 2-hour training session that you had, because their mentality was this: you can't drink in the fight, as in when you're fighting, so you need to get used to not drinking any water whilst you're training. Now I kind of get slightly the psychology, like fuck it, let's go out there and let's have it. But in reality, you're just depleting your body of something that you really need whilst you're training, which is ridiculous. And the other thing is, which is a blessing and a curse, they really, really pushed you every single session, even up. So if you had a fight on Saturday, they were absolutely smashing you to pieces up until the Friday, and sometimes even the Saturday morning. That was the amateur sort of old school way of thinking and doing things. But then when I got round Charlie Beat, who's my trainer now, he took Shannon Courtney to world champion, etc. Like, not every session you need to be smashed up. Not every session needs to be completely tearing yourself to pieces. I think you've been on Tris Dixon's podcast.
Yeah, I haven't actually listened to that one.
That's a good one. If I started to butt in, mate, that is one of my favourite ones I've done. It was long. I I go really into certain things about my psyche at the time, my mental state. So that's a good one. Yeah, Tris Dixon's Boxing Life Stories. If anybody listens to this after this one, give it a go because it's a good podcast. He's a very, 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 very good bloke, Tris Dixon. Really nice fella.
He came onto my podcast back in the last year, and he shared a lot about his book, Damaged, and a few other things. And even he hits home a couple of truths, which is, you know, a lot of the boxers, they don't actually really get damaged so much for the fight. It's actually the training up until the fight. So like the brain damage, etc. Because if you keep on doing the sparring, and again, this is all born from the amateurs where, get in there, have a fight, take some digs, etc. But there's only a certain amount of brain cells you got. And if you keep on doing it, you're going to have Parkinson's, you're going to have brain damage, you're going to have chronic problems later on in your life. And it's actually about getting yourself fit and closer to the fight, having a short amount of time where you're doing your sparring and everything else, but you're not going in there to have a war. You're going in there to learn. And it took me many, many years, probably even the last 3 to 4 or 5 years to actually work that out. So you as a professional athlete, boxer, you must have kind of almost learned that as well as you were going during your career?
I learned that the hard way. My career, quite well documented, my career ended because of an eye injury. I'm 78% blind in my left eye. I had 9 operations over 3 years on my eye to try to get back in the ring, as I mentioned earlier. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be. I've got permanent nerve damage in the eye as well from a procedure which didn't go very well. I hurt my eye. It's dubious about when it happened. And I can't really go into too much detail because of like legal stuff. It's so unfair. It's so unfair. But listen, life's unfair, man. But I sustained either the initial injury or the worsening of a pre-existing injury in the sparring session. Got whacked in the eye, and then that was the. But I think I fractured my eye socket at some point in my career, but I didn't know about it. And normally, when you fracture an eye socket, you get a big, like, naughty black eye. I never did, and I think there's, some scans. It's inconclusive, but apparently I had fractures in my eye socket for time. But I had this one sparring session, and that straw broke the camel's back. That flared up all the problems. And then rather than treating the fracture from that moment, which should have been done because it was, although I may or may not have had inconclusively, I may or may not have had fractures pre-existing in there. My eye was asymptomatic, my vision was fine. That was the moment when my eye should have been repaired from then, but they looked at it from the very beginning. Like they said, we can't do surgery because the fracture's been there for a couple of years and there's nothing there we can't heal a bone that's already been healed because it's healed itself, which is the wrong. So they chose a different procedure and a different route for different procedure. And that was by far the worst thing they ever could have done. And any ophthalmologist, any eye doctor worth their salt would have treated it there. Unfortunately, I saw the best doctor in the world, paid a lot of money to the best doctor in the world, at the best hospital in the world for eyes, and they fucked my career, ended my career, and fucked my life up, basically. Anyway, it's in the past. I've moved on. I'm enjoying myself again, which is nice. But yeah, mate, ultimately what I'm saying is a lot of damage is done in the sparring, and Britain is a bit backwards. I love a home. I'm a homeboy. I hate living there. I don't like living there. I generally like being home. I'm a bad guy in wrestling. I'm a bad guy, right? So I just speak my truths, man. I don't go out and try to be a bad guy. I just say everything I hate about America. Everything I don't believe in. I live here, man. I see it every day. So they all boo me every single time, which is great. I'm a bad guy. I want to get booed. But there's so many things about this place which does my head in. However, there are some good things about it. I think they're probably 10 years ahead of us in sport. Like they do things in the cutting edge and in medicine, and certain things in medicine as well. Like they're at the cutting edge of a lot of things over here. Sport, I've trained with Virgil Hunter, who's an unbelievable coach. And my one regret in boxing, he asked me, I went to train for him in 2014. And he asked me to move out to America and train with him at full time. And I really thought, I said to him, yeah, me and my friend, my best mate, we went to San Francisco to train with him for I think like 3 weeks. And then at the end, Virgil said, look, he said, don't go back. If you go back, you're going to talk to your wife, you're going to talk to my then coach, and they're going to persuade you to stay. He said, I want you to stay here, live here. Well, he said to me, you're going to be my last boxer I take on. You're my last project. And then we can walk away from boxing together in 10 years' time. I was like, wow, he sold me the dream. I was like, this is all I want from a coach. At the time, I had a really, really, really good coach, but I didn't have his time because he was too busy. And as good, if not better, coach with my similar boxing philosophy. 100% invested in me. This is everything I wanted. And then I, at the airport, at San Francisco airport, my mate said to me, you got like $300 left. Well, I said, rather than changing them at travel exchange and getting your ass handed to you from commission, let me buy them from you because I'll be coming back here in a couple of weeks' time. I'm going to be living here. So I bought the dollars off him. I was so sure. So I bought the dollars off him. I came back home, spoke to my wife, spoke to my coach, and my coach kind of just gave me the whole spiel. Oh, stay here. I'll give you if you want. My wife weren't too keen to move over here either. So I was like, oh, maybe. So in the end, I decided to stay in England, and I held my eye a year later. And then, my career was over. Listen, like, I could have come over here, the first spark could hurt my eye because there's probably a ticking time bomb which is going to go at some point. I think had I got treatment over here, I'd have been back boxing within 6 months. But, shoulda, woulda, coulda, if, but, I could have come over here, walked across the road to go training, looked the wrong way because they drive on the wrong side of the road here, hit by a bus and dead. You just never know what could have happened. I think you're at your place in life wherever you're at for a reason. Ultimately, I think what I was saying with Virgil Hunter, he had his own strength and conditioning coach, and they were real good, man. They were like, they did strength and conditioning, but it was rather than a one-size-fits-all, which often was at the GB squad or where I trained in England, each person had their own program, right? And they're quite ahead of the game over here in some aspects.
Yeah, I think as well, it's like, I don't know every state, and I don't know what every state does as far as their school, the school activities, etc. What they do, but wrestling is a big part of it. Obviously, doing weights and probably even boxing. So they're already kind of in that mindset of getting strong and becoming very, 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 very tough people. And over here, I don't know any. There was one guy actually that went to another school quite close to mine when I was younger, and he was the only person I had ever heard of doing wrestling, but he did do it at school. He done it outside of school. I was like, wrestling? That's just crazy. That's just very unknown. But now looking back, I could see how that could serve you, not just in wrestling later on in your life, but many other sports as well. And America definitely, ahead of the curve. But talking about what you were saying there about with Virgil Hunter, obviously you used to train the great Andre Ward, undefeated fighter, one of the best fighters ever.
Ever, mate, ever. I got to watch him train for 3 weeks, right, day in, day out. He's so fucking good. And he's one of those ones where
very
he never
clever.
really got, he never really got, but he could fight as well. He was clever, tough as fuck, proper tough. Like often time, like people think Mayweather, like he's clever as well. Mayweather's tough as fuck, man. Like you don't get to that level, and it's not even just get to the level, like stay at that level without being tough. Like he's so good. I saw him have wars in the gym, Andre Ward. I saw him box the ears off people, like when other world champions in the gym. Mate, he was so good. And he's one of those guys that, in my opinion, I never truly got the credit that he should have got in his career. And I think, and even now, he doesn't really get it. Like I think he'll get it in 15, 20 years' time. People will go, oh yeah, he was actually really, really good. I was sparred with Carl Froch for years. So I was his main sparring partner from 2010 to Blooming 2014. And Froch he was great. I learned a lot from Froch. He was really, really good. Ward schooled him, man. Froch he's a really, really good fighter. Ward schooled him. Yeah, mate, he was so good.
But as I was going to say, I mean, that would have been a defining probably moment in your life. But at the same time, things happen for a reason, and you are where you are right now. So I want to just kind of conclude the wrestling part, and then I want to talk about your background, because I know you share with my cousin about adversity with injuries, not just about the eye, but also your shoulder popping out. Also about Canelo, there was maybe $5 million up for grab for you fighting Canelo. I want to talk about that. Your mum going into hospital, obviously, all that kind of stuff with your family. But I know probably loads of people have asked you this, but I've not heard it on the podcast, so I'm going to ask you, why did you choose to take the route of pro wrestling?
Good question. I've been asked quite a lot, and I've got a few like generic answers. The people that I like, and I like you, mate. And I think we had a little chat before we started, and I like where you've been, I like what you started. I like your charisma, and I'm more honest with people that I like. So I'll be very honest. Why? I mean, I wanted to box. I retired in March 2019. I had 7 operations at that point. I went on to have 2 more on my eye, 7 more operations on my eyes, because I tried to get them both. Right, long story. I ended up having 2 more surgeries, like on the sly, on the down low, just because I still wasn't ready to give up. I'd retired and I was still trying to get back in the ring. And it wasn't to be, and I was devastated, and I needed to get away. I needed to get away from England, because I'd moved to a place where my life was just to train and for boxing. I'd been boxing my entire life, and I wasn't ready to give it up. I was 12 when I started boxing. I was 13 when I retired. Approached my 31st birthday when I had the last surgery. I needed to go. I just couldn't be around it anymore. I just couldn't be around it. I was heartbroken, right? And I often say, like, if my generic answer is, if I couldn't be a fighter, then I want to be a fake fighter, But really, I've loved wrestling. I genuinely love wrestling. I thought, what else do I like? What else do I actually? Boxing was everything to me. My wife says that she was the mistress and boxing was the wife. I loved it so much. I thought, what else do I even like? I don't even like anything. It was just always boxing for me. And I thought, how I saw my life going, when I was 16, up until when I was 25, I thought I was going to box until I was, say, 36. Or whenever I start, the thing of boxing as well, as well as great sports where, I always thought, I never saw my career panning out the way it did. I always thought, and they often say in boxing, you've read enough books to know this, when a fighter starts getting hit with shots that a year or 2 ago they'd have avoided, that's when it's time to get out. Because now you're taking punishment to the body, which at your best you wouldn't have taken. So I always thought my kind of style, I thought I'd been at my absolute best from 29 to 33, because I was fast. I was quite a late developer. In terms of strength and stuff, I was I remember I won the World Junior Championships in 2005. I was 16. And I didn't even have hairs on my armpits. So I was 16. I would just beat the Russian in the final. Every fight, I fought a Turk, I fought American, I fought Ukrainian in the build-up. I beat them all. And each time, referee lifted my arm up and put my arm straight down. So I was embarrassed that I didn't have armpit hair. And then in the final, I fought a Russian, Ruslan Debenev. I think something like that. One of it. Anyway, I beat him 11-7 or something like that. 12-7. I boxed really well. Became world champion. Left to lift my arm up, and I thought, oh fuck, I don't care. I don't care if people can see I haven't got armpit hair. I'm the world champion. I haven't got to have armpit hair. But I was quite a late developer, right? And what was I saying? I got off on a tangent. I do this all the time. I'm half punchy. What was I saying about? I was a late developer for some reason. What did I say that for?
Yeah, you was in the flow, so I just I left you to it. So I was gonna get to this next part then, just to conclude it. So we're being a wrestler now. So what is the goal? What is the vision with you in this profession? Because if I were to ask a pro boxer, what do you want to achieve out of the sport? It's going to be, especially if you're English and from the UK, I want to become world champion. That's a given. I want to box in Vegas, under the big lights there. I want to be in some big headlining fights. I probably want to come out the sport with as many, as close as a perfect record as possible. So hardly any losses. I want to come out the sport earning some good money, because let's have it right. If you do become the very best version of you as a boxer, part of that is you can start making tens, if not hundreds of millions of pounds of dollars, which is rare, but it can happen. There's a lot of people that have done it. But with pro wrestling, I'm naive because I don't know it. So is it the world titles you're after? Is it to go around the world? Is it? I don't know. What is the ambition there?
Yeah. Sorry, I will wrap up. I was saying that my peak years, I'd have been between 29 to 33. And what I was going to say was, and I was going to hang on for a little bit, then retire 35, 36. And then what I wanted to do, I always saw myself long-term going into TV or acting. I wanted to do it like TV or films from 40, right? And I wanted to kind of have like 3 years with my wife and my kids. Hopefully I have one day. And enjoy the fruits of my labour before starting a whole new career where I've got to be rededicated again. So that was the plan. Enjoy those 3 years, and then hopefully from 40 years onwards, become an actor and try to like make strides in that kind of career. When I retired at 30 years old, I'm still young. I'm still fit. I'm still healthy. I don't want to go into acting straight away kind of thing. I still want to get something out of this body that I've worked hard for. So I just thought, you asked me why professional wrestling. One, I've always loved it as a fan since I was a kid. I always thought I was going to grow out of it, and I never did. As I've grown up, I liked it even more. Two, long term, I see myself doing acting. When my body can't take the bumps it can now in the ring, I'm going to go and do a job where I don't smash my body up. Hopefully that's acting or TV presenting or something like that when I'm 40. I had 10 years where I wanted to do something. 10 years where I wanted to kind of have some fun and enjoy myself and do things that I enjoy. And how I see it, you got boxing here, pure combat. You got acting here, theatre, acting, wrestling's bang in the middle. Wrestling's literally banging. It's the perfect, bridging career. It's bang in the middle. You get a lot of the combat, competitive, aggressive stuff. And they also get the theatrical on TV, showmanship out of it all. So yeah, for me, wrestling's bang in the middle. And that's why it's a job that I really, really enjoy. And hopefully, I want to do it for another 5, 6, 7 years and get really good at it. But when that's done, I can't take the bumps anymore. I want it to kind of hopefully open doors for me in a acting thing. So yeah, so what's the goal? The goal is very different. It's hard if you're not a wrestler or a wrestling fan. It's really hard to talk about it because you just won't understand, because it's such a weird, honestly, it's such a weird, and that's not a dig on you. It's just an odd, weird industry, man. It's crazy. But I'd love to become world champion. Right? I'd love to become world champion, AEW world champion. That is the goal. It's not like boxing, as I said. It's just a weird sport. It's really hard to explain. But also, I just want to have fun. I want to enjoy myself. My boxing career, I had to retire from boxing and look back at boxing and go, oh, that was really fun. No, I really enjoyed that. So I was always under so much pressure. I wanted it so bad. I didn't enjoy it as much as I should have along the way. I want to learn my lessons. And life's all about living your best life, so about learning your lessons from before and not doing them again. And one of my lessons is I didn't enjoy myself as much as I should have done along the way. This career, I want to really enjoy everything. I'm away from home at the minute, and it's shit, and it's a bit rubbish here and there. But I want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy not having to ask the missus what time to go to bed. I want to enjoy go out for a drink with some friends. I want to enjoy performing on TV every single week. I want to enjoy that stuff. So yeah, more about just, and also, I'll be very honest, kind of getting over, and I'm pretty much there now, but the bitterness of what the boxing career wasn't. I want to be successful in this stage of my life now, so I can not be bitter anymore about boxing. I can look back and be happy, because it ended really, really, really bitterly for me.
I want to talk more about the boxing stuff. I know you've probably gone over these stories many, many times, but I'm I do boxing, not nowhere near the level that you achieved. More of a casual kind of box. I do it because of my mindset. I love keeping fit. I love having a goal. Obviously, it's 2022, and what everybody typically does is set New Year's resolutions to lose weight. And for me, the best way of being on point for my business, being on point as an individual and losing weight and becoming fit is setting a fight. That's why I done it for March. So I love the whole psychology behind fighters and what you guys do and the pressure that you go through, which is a point I want to talk about. I've got to be honest, like when I obviously saw you as an amateur, you done so well, and you like everyone just adored you as a brand and what you achieved for yourself and the country. And when you turned over, I was so excited because of obviously Golden Boy. They obviously signed you. I know you spoke about this in Plan Positive, and you were going to be like the UK sort of brand ambassador for Golden Boy. And I thought, this is it. This is where you're going to go from here to here. Like I could just feel it. And I know you had 12 fights. You won them all by one. And I think it was the fight when you come back off of injury and you lost it. And I felt so gutted because I remember watching the fight thinking, no, this shouldn't be happening to him. He should be pushing on. So that's from a fan's perspective and like looking at you and looking at boxing. What was that like? Like, because you mentioned like the word bitter and stuff like that. Like, what was that pot of emotion like during that time? Like trying to get your pro career taken off?
There's a few different things wrapped up in that. I mean, yeah, so my pro record was 12-1. I never felt like I lost a fight. It's really weird. Like, so in that fight, my last fight, my eyes severe. I suffered, like 3/4 blindness in my left eye. I fractured my eye socket in 8 places. Went into that. I told you earlier. I think that happened. We think it happened in the spa 3 weeks before the contest. I went into that fight. Never should have been anywhere near a professional boxing ring. I went into that fight with 2 fractures in my eye socket. I was told it was never going. I was told it wasn't going to get any worse because the fractures were old fractures, and they're no more likely to refracture than any other eye socket or your other eye socket. So it wasn't going to get any worse. It was the worst advice in the world. I walked in with fresh eye socket fractures, and your eye socket's job is to protect the eyeball and the muscles around it. And when you got a crack here and a crack here, it's weak. So my eye socket just actually exploded. And then it wasn't protecting the eye, so it was getting whacked in the eye. The eye was getting damaged. The muscles and soft tissue around it was getting damaged. So I came out with and the thing is, like, it sounds really weird. I'm the most competitive. When I was boxing, like if I'm playing Monopoly with my sisters, I don't care who wins. If I play a game of chess with the kids, my nephews and nieces, I could get it. That's not. I'm not one of those people like Roy Keane that's got to beat their kids at bloody tiddlywinks, because that's just, mate, that says way more about you than it does. Like, you're just messing the kids up. Like, but when it comes to boxing, I care about, mate. I'd rather die on my shield than lose. Like, I just, when I feel passionate about something, and boxing and life are the 2 things I feel most passionate about. Like, you have to kill me to beat me. So I'm the most competitive person in the world. So I never felt like I lost that fight. My corner threw the towel in round 8, I think, and I was winning on the scorecards because they knew my eye was bad. Because I was obviously, from their perspective, boxing horrendously, because like I was bashing up top fighters in sparring, even with the bad eye, So at that point, it was only 2 fractures. My vision was a bit off, but I could deal with it. And then I was assured it wasn't going to get any worse. Then I walked in round 2, I got hit in the eye with his forearm. And actually, he's a southpaw, we tripped legs, and he forearmed me in the eye. And my eyes went boof. I pulled away. My left eye was like this. So everything I saw was twisted. Everything I saw was like literally at an angle. And then my left eye, because the orbital floor was fractured, it was dropped down. So when I was looking up in my boxing position, I was seeing one person here, one person way up here, and it was twisted. So I was getting hit by a guy who was down here, like in the ground. Guy was up here in the sky, twisted aside. I was getting whacked. When you lose double eyes vision together, you lose depth perception. So I had no clue where he was in the ring, if he was 6 inches away or 6 feet away. I would like, I I wouldn't. What I went through that night, I would not wish upon my worst enemy. It was horrible. Like I was in hell. And I love fighting. I literally, as you heard earlier, the only thing I ever loved in my life was boxing. I love boxing. I'd box anywhere in the world. I'd box anybody in the world. I'll box on a week's notice. I've lost a stone. I've lost a whole stone in a week before to box, right? To fight bloody Czech Republic to box. Like, I love boxing. That was the worst night of my life because I'm now fighting somebody. I have no clue where he is. And I didn't know I was getting hit until I was hit. It was horrible, man. It was a horrible night. But for me, and I'd been out for, that was particularly fun. My whole career is just frustrated, man. Like, so frustrating. My debut was great. I knocked out Kieran Gray up in Sheffield, 10,000 fans there. Just after the game, it was amazing. And that should have been the start of a glorious career. But unfortunately, that was the highlight of my pro career, my debut, which is so sad. My next fight, I broke my hand in Atlantic City. Got food poisoning the day of my fight and ruptured my stomach. I was being sick that violently, pre and post fight. So I ruptured my tummy muscles. I flew home. At the time I was living in Norwich. I flew home, went to Norfolk Norwich Hospital, sat there, straight from Atlantic, straight from the airport, flew through Heathrow, got my car, drove up. I was literally shitting my pants, sat in A&E. The guy recognised me, he got me through, which is really naughty. And normally at the time I didn't have private healthcare. And I'm a good dude, right? Like, I would never want to use my name to jump a queue anywhere. I think it's bad. I said to you at the beginning, we're all equal, right? Just because one person's a boxer on TV, one person works at fucking Asda, I'm not better than him. I don't deserve treatment more than him. If we're both not going to die, it's we both wait at the same time. I was so ill. I was literally shitting as I was sitting there. My hand was like this. I fractured my hand. Guy went, mate, come in here, I'll sort you out. And I said, I just want to go to the toilet. Let's get to the toilet. And then, broke my hand, got the ultrasound scan, ruptured my tummy muscles. Fucking hell, man. Came back. One of my other fights, I got punched in my eye. Different injury to what happened later on, but crushed the nerve in the corner of my eye. My whole face was numb. That was my third fight. I was out for a year, and I was out for a year with my Achilles. I had 4 operations on my Achilles, 2 on each Achilles. I made my whole career, and then I was out for a whole year of my Achilles, a whole year from July. I fought Wayne Reed in 2014 in July. And a good fight, Wayne Reed, Southpaw, decent lad. Good fighter. And that was round 4. And my Achilles was so painful, like so painful. Every time I moved, it was like I was getting stabbed in both Achilles. It was horrible, man. Like, I wouldn't wish that upon anybody either. That was horrible. And I'm fighting Wayne Reed. And he's coming in, he's going to launch a big right hook. And I was good on my feet. So I'd move, make him fall short and counter him. I'd draw him in, fall short and counter him. Push him back, my Achilles was so painful, I thought, I'm just going to block this one. I'm going to block it and I hit him with an uppercut. So I put my left hand up and elongated the hook. So rather than like a medium hook, it was a long hook. Hit me around the back of the head, and my knee dipped. I was like, fuck. And I was like, even the bell went. And I was fine. I wasn't like in trouble, but my knee had a little wobble. Fucking hell. And I stopped in the next round. I remember thinking, I came around the fight thinking, I was persevering with my Achilles, I was persevering, because I didn't want to have any more time off and have surgery. And I thought, but now, if this guy's wobbling me with a shot because my Achilles is sore. He didn't hit me because he was better than me. I think in boxing, like, you can earn a shot, like you can work, like you can set traps, you can feint, you can throw combos, and you can earn a shot, or you can give somebody a shot. And I gave him that shot because my Achilles didn't work. And I thought, if he's wobbling me, what's Canelo going to do? You know, so I thought, I'll go and get my Achilles done. Had the Achilles done, operation on both sides. The first surgery didn't work. And also the surgeon put an infection in both of my Achilles. Had another big operation on my Achilles. That was meant to be, so I was out for 6 months. I had another big surgery. I was meant to be out for another 12 months. I condensed that rehab into just 6 months. I fought from July 2014, Wayne Reed. I fought Ruslan Shege. Man, I haven't boxed in so long. I forgot. Boxing was so hard to me that I've been trying to forget it because I was so bitter. I fought a guy, Ruslan Shelev. in Germany. I just got co-signed by Sauerland, my first fight under Sauerland. I fought in Germany, in Halle. I fought Rustin, round 2, right hand, skimmed his head, shoulders come out. I fought the whole fight with one arm. My arm's hit down below. In between round 2 and round 3, I was using my left arm and put my right arm on my right knee and wiggle my right knee to pop it back in the socket. I had to fight the whole fight with one arm. Beat him, won every single round. I was out for 10 months, another shoulder surgery. And then I came back and fought in May, knocked him out, knocked out Gary Cooper. In June, knocked out somebody. In July, went back to Germany, knocked somebody out. Now I'm back. All my injuries are done, right? And my coach said to me, mate, you've been the most unluckiest man in the world of injuries. Bad luck doesn't happen to people all the time. Like, lady luck evens itself out. Over the course of a football season, you get the rubber, the green, you get, for now, I can crack on and have my career. I'm 25 years old, 26 years old. I'm now getting my man strength, as we say in boxing. I'm now understanding pro boxing because I'd have a fight injured, 2 fights injured. I'm now kind of getting my rhythm. There's nothing going to stop me. We're talking about the Canelo fight in 2 fights' time. Fight for the WBC international belt, win that, give me a top 10 ranking WBC. This is in October. I was meant to fight on Canelo's undercard in Vegas in the May. Looked great, knocked somebody out. He was going to defend the belt. I was going to box him again in September. Loads of money for the world title. To establish myself at world elite level, I fight for the WBC belt. And then I spar in the summer. My eye gets a bit iffy. Box in the October. And my eye explodes, and it's the end of my career. So my whole career, and there's way more. There's way more than just that. I had surgery. When I had the surgery on my shoulder, I'll send you a picture after this. You can have a look. That's when I did Strictly Come Dancing. So I had no money because I'd been injured all this time. I'll show you a picture of my arm. It's so skinny. The man nicked the nerve in the surgery. My whole arm withered away. I had to go to London for this. I think I had to go to Devon Street for an appointment in the evening. Really put a needle in my skin on something, and something on the edge of my finger. And because my nerve is basically, I couldn't even curl my own arm. I couldn't even bicep curl my own fist. And basically, if my nerve is dead, my career is over. This is 2015. If my nerve is dead, my career is over, and I'm done. The rest of my life, I'd have a skinny arm, which I can't move, like flop to the side of my body. And I went again, and he put something in my neck here, something on my finger, and put loads of. And I didn't know the severity. I didn't like. So I've always been, even when I had the 8th surgery on my eye, right, and my eye was just so bad, and I'm looking in different directions. I always thought I was going to box again. I could not see my life going ahead, me not becoming a world champion, right? I just couldn't see it. So no matter how bad things go, I always thought I've got to fight. I guess it's what I've been put on this earth to do. So even my arm is bad. I always thought, I'll box again. I didn't actually know the severity, and then until he said this. But the thing with my finger, and he's pumping electrical volts through my shoulder, right? Nothing's happening. And to a normal arm, it'd be fucking going all over the place. Nothing's happening. He said, this is as much as I'm allowed to do. He cranks it right up, presses it, and my finger does like that, a little pulse. And the guy goes to me, mate, you've still got a career. He went, it'll take your time to get back, but you've still got a career. And I was like, of course I have. And I took it all out of stuff and wiped me up. Then he explained to me what actually had just happened and how close my career. He said, if your finger hadn't have flinched on that last one, your arm would never have got better. And I'll send you a picture after this. You can, to show you what I mean. Yeah. And that meant that the nerve was pretty bruised and pretty fucked up, but it'll take time, but it will heal again. And it did eventually. Got back in the ring. Boom, boom, boom. Knockout. My eye goes and I retire. I'm forced to retire from boxing 3 years later. And last thing I'll say on this is, like, with the whole eye injury, I really wish that, like, in that fight, my eyeball just fell out the socket, or it just got punctured, or something bad happened instantaneously, and then my career is done that night, October 22nd, 2016. My career's done. Because I can't fight, my eyeballs come out of the socket, or the eyeball's been lacerated, or I can't fight. The hard thing, the most brutal thing for me is over 3 years, man. Like I had 9 surgeries. I spent £100,000 alone. I've remortgaged my house. I sold my car to paying for surgery. And I wasn't earning big money at all at that point. Like I was about to, but I wasn't. It was so really long and drawn out and really cruel. I'd rather just been done there, career's over. Now I've got no choice but to reinvent myself and do something else. But for 3 years I spent trying to get back in the ring, and it was getting further and further away. My mental state was getting a little worse and worse and worse. And, I was becoming a real bitter person. Watching people that I'm better than, that I've beat, that could not lace my gloves, go out there and become world champion and go out there and earn millions of pounds. And I'm like, it's just not fair. It's just not. And I'm not going to name names. I named names in interviews in the past. And I got a lot of bad press for it. And it sounded like I was really bitter. And it annoyed me because in the interview, I said, at the time, I was really bitter. I looked at this person and I thought he became world champion. I'm way better than him. So I was speaking and I said I was bitter then. Now, I'm cool. Like, whether other people achieve things or not, great. It doesn't affect me. Like, I'm happy for them. I want them to do well. But it's just when I was in that place and I couldn't box and I wanted to box, seeing them guys box and become world champion fucking broke my heart, man. It's frustrating. Really frustrating. My whole career is frustrating, but I learned a lot of life lessons that will hold me in good stead for the rest of my life in that period. And that's what I meant. I was a pro, really. I was hired in 2019. I was pro for 6 years, and I was injured for more than half of that time. But I was still training every single. When my eye was bad, I found a new coach, and the most frustrating thing for me was, I mentioned earlier, I had a great coach, but I had 50% of his time at best. I was never really a priority. It wasn't until I hurt my eye that I found 2 amazing strength and conditioning coaches, Dave Davis and Paul Jarvis. I found an amazing boxing coach for me, Barry O'Connell and Hammersmith. I had an amazing physio. I had my perfect team, my management team, my team. My team, that team would have 100% took me to the world title. I don't doubt that for a second, with my ability and what I've got inside me. And by the time I got my coach, I never fought again. And we trained. So I'm naturally left-handed. Well, I'm naturally should be a southpaw. And by the time I got good at boxing, they didn't realize I was left-handed until I was like, won 2 schoolboy championships. And they didn't want to take the time to teach me southpaw, because I was already winning as an orthodox. And then there's numerous times in my career I wanted to start boxing southpaw. And I could box southpaw offensively, but I'd get hit defensively and I'd panic and change again. It wasn't until I met Barry. He's like, mate, there's no fight lined up. Everything we do orthodox, we do southpaw. And then, mate, it's such a shame. Nobody got to see how good I could have really been, because we made magic. And every day I drove from my house in Essex, an hour and a half to Hammersmith, 2 hours back because of traffic. I spent 3.5 hours in the car every single day, all for 2 years of that 3-year period, because I generally thought I was going to box again. And I never got the reward out of it. So that's the shit bit for me. That's the really shit bit for me. But, it's life, man. It happens in funny ways.
So my podcast is called The Stephen Sulley Study. And what the study stands for is me studying successful people, go-getters, athletes, entrepreneurs, etc. Big part of being a success, because when we talk about success, we talk about the stereotypical things, which is the nice car, the nice watch, the nice wife or the nice husband or the nice big house or all the money you've got in the bank or fame, stardom, big following, that kind of stuff. But really and truly, your success is going to be defined a lot of the time about when you go through adversity and how you can bounce back. And a lot of the stories that you're sharing now and on other podcasts, Anthony, people just will be completely clueless. They just think, boxer came in, had a few fights, fell away, now he's doing this. And they don't really appreciate that, what you've gone through. And that's why I reached out to you, because I knew there was more than what meets the eye with your social media, etc. And I knew that you were a go-getter and someone that wouldn't accept just, laying on your backside and saying, well, I'm done now from boxing. So I really admire what you've gone through and all the adversity that you've just shared with me. I don't want to bring up old things to create more pain, but you mentioned it on other podcasts, like the stuff that you went through even with your mother, even sneaking out of the Olympic Village in Stratford, going to see your mother at the hospital, being there for a few hours, literally creeping back into the Olympic Village, putting on a front as well, like you were bumping into LeBron James and all these high flying athletes, and you had to almost falsify that you were upbeat and happy, but really behind the scenes that you were quite low emotionally. Talk to me about those events, because I know we've only probably got 20 odd minutes or whatever before you got to make your call. But
I'll try to run through it. Basically, so I was never fussed about turning pro as a boxer. For me, it was when as a kid, I wanted to become Olympic champion. That's all I wanted to do. And I saw it so clearly. Olympic champion in London 2012, mate. I could have died the next day and been content in my life at that point in my life. And then, it was a real hard qualification process. I dislocated my shoulder. I've had 3 dislocations in my career. You've heard the third one, 2008. 2011 pre-qualifiers. There's loads of mini stories in here, but I'll breeze through it. Just to qualify, you would not believe what I went through. Just to qualify, the adversity, you would not believe, right? Anyway, I qualified. I was finally there. The Olympic Games happened in the Olympic Game I qualified, I remember the exact date. The first fight was we qualified like beginning of June, end of May, beginning of June. The first fight Olympics was opening ceremony was July 27th. I was the first British boxer to fight on Saturday, the very next day, on the 28th. I boxed, qualified in Trabzon, Turkey, shithole. That was all right. That was okay. We weren't the best, but that was okay. We came home, we had a week off, right, which was gold. Week offs on the GB squad was so seldom, man. When they came along, you only got week offs. When you went to a different tangent, when you go to a tournament on GB squad, as it was then, if you want a gold medal, you got a gold medal. But just as good as a gold medal, you got a week off from squad, which is just amazing. So, if you want to go for the gold medal and for the week off from squad, I won, I qualified, I got the week off with my family. We went to Sheffield on the Monday. We were there all week. On the Tuesday, I got a phone call from my sister at 8:20 in the morning. I answered it. My sister Joanne said, Andy, you've got to come home now. Mum's about to die. I'm like, can we come, and single parent, me, my 4 sisters, my mum's our queen, my hero, everything. I was still at home at the time, and I couldn't believe it. I jumped in my car, drove down, walked into the hospital. She was up on the life support machine, and they pulled me into the corner. My mum's next to the kid, and they said to me, explained what happened, a big subarachnoid bleed in the back of her brain, big brain aneurysm. He went, nothing we can do. A young doctor, he goes to me, and I'm sure this is a throwaway comment. He went, there's nothing we can do here. He said, the only place that could do anything was Addenbrooke's in Cambridge. He said, but he said, anyway, we've sent the scans to her. They can't do anything, and there's no beds available anyway, so we've got to turn off the life support machine. And I was like, I sat on it, except for I never react when I'm penting up. I took a second and went, so okay, I'd like you to send that to Addenbrooke's, please. He went to me, no. He said, look, you didn't hear me. He went, we can't, there's no beds. And anyway, we sent them the scans, they've seen the scans, and they can't do anything. So we can't. I said, okay. And they very politely, I said 3 times, I said, please, she's my mum. I know this is a job for you, but she's my mum. I want her to go to Addenbrooke's. And he said, no. The 4th time, I lost my shit. I don't know what I said. I don't know what I did. But he's left. And he's come back. It could have been a minute, could have been 20. I don't know. He comes back, he says to me, he said, look, a bed has just opened up at Addenbrooke's. So I don't know if somebody's just died in that 20 minutes or been moved on or what, I don't know. Well, I had to get the but he went, We'll send her there. But just so you know, don't get your hopes up. I said, thank you. So they blew her to hospital. I followed them in the car, and she was there for a month. She was there. No, she was there for months. She was in a coma. They operated on her brain straight away. She had numerous operations, seemingly every couple of days, in a coma for the whole time. So I sat by my mum's bedside for a month. Didn't do anything. Didn't do a press up. Didn't do a sit up. Nothing. Right. And yeah, it was July 19th for brain aneurysm. So the Olympics were literally like, 5 weeks later. So for 3 weeks, I didn't do anything. 3.5 weeks, didn't do nothing. Didn't do a press up, didn't go for a run. I lost weight. I wasn't eating. The Olympics had gone from being the most important thing in my life to the furthest thing away. And then my sisters and my then girlfriend, now wife, said to me, look, she went, you've got to do the Olympics. Mum, when she gets better, and none of us thought she was going to get better. But when she gets better, she's going to feel awful knowing that you didn't do the games because of her. So they're now guilt tripping me. So I was like, fuck, if I don't do them, I'm literally, if she does survive, she will want to kill herself. The fact that I didn't do them because she knows how much this whole thing means to me. Or I go and never see her again. Anyway, I decided to go, which is the hardest thing I've done. Went to Sheffield. We had 1 week of training. We had one spa. And I told the coaches to keep it from the lads. No, they didn't know what was going on. The coaches knew what was going on, but we had a friends and family day. It was the last day training in Sheffield before going to London. And then I spotted a lad called Fred Evans, a traveller lad, real nice, tremendous fighter. He had all his family around the ring because the family and friends day. I had nobody. I know travellers like in boxing, they love it, right? They're around the ring, snapping the ring, love it. I sparred Fred. I had my phone in my pocket. Who's on my next of kin, and if they call me. So I put in pocket. I throw a sloppy jab. First punch of phone in the mouth, slips out, boom, big blow to the body, southpaw, breaks my rib. Right. I somehow got through the spar, numb from the pain. So I'm just don't want to be there. I sat on the ring apron. I'm crying. I'm sweating a lot. All the Vaseline in my face, but the sweat and Vaseline is masquerading my tears because I was crying really. My shoulder still wasn't healed from the dislocation and the surgery. That's still fucked. My Achilles, which I don't have 4 operations on, they were fucked. I've got a broken rib, so when you can't even breathe, it hurts so much. And I think, fuck, mum's going to die. I'm never going to see her again. And my first fight's in a week's time. I'm thinking, fuck, what the fuck, man? Like, how is this my Olympics? I go to London. I get really, really, really hard draw. I fight the first day. My second fight, I fought the Ukrainian, the world champion, the number 1, the shooting for the gold medal. There's loads of stories around that as well. I urge anybody to come listen to stories I've said about that because that day in itself is amazing. I beat him. I boxed a German. And the semi-final, I lost to a Brazilian, right? And this frustrated me for many, many years. Still does a little bit. The Dominican, my first fight, the Ukrainian and the German, the 3 guys that I beat to get to semi-finals had all beaten the Brazilian that Olympic year. Not like when they were kids, but that year had all beaten him. He was the worst person I fought at the Olympic Games. But he beat me. But it's because I was fucked. So I had nothing. I literally, from the Ukrainian fight, I was running on fumes. I had nothing. Mum still thinks I'm sneaking out of the village, as you heard. I snuck out of the village 3 times during the Olympics. I parked my car at Wanstead. Leave Stratford at midnight. Get the central line to my car, drive to Adam Brooks, hour and a half. I'd sweet talk the nurse to let me in. Obviously, early hours of the morning, outside of visiting hours, I'd come in, I'd hold my mum's hand for half an hour, stroke her hair, whatever. I'd leave, I'd jump back in my car, drive back down, sit at Wanstead till 5 in the morning till the first tube comes, get on a tube, and creep back into the Olympic Village, get in my bed, the alarm will go off, we're up for the day. And we now got to do the day's activities and stuff. And that's my Olympics, man. Did that 2 times during the competition. Did it 1 time, I lost the fight. Did it after the fight, I lost before the final day. Yeah, mate, that was my Olympic Games. It was brutal. And you talk about success, right? Like, I'm a very competitive, driven person. I wanted the gold medal more than life itself. And I didn't get the gold medal. And for a long time, I felt like I was a failure. But when you hear that story and that I went through and just being there, and I come from a small town called Lowestoft, like we had no dad around. Like nobody, like most boxers, not all, most boxers come from box because their dad boxed, their granddad boxed, their uncles boxed. You know, I had that. I had no boxing figure. I come from a small town in the arse end of nowhere. No one from there's ever done anything significant with their lives. And I mean this in the nicest possible way. I'm not burying, I'm not running down my town or people from there, but like you go on Wikipedia. I'm a bit of a nerd for like Googling people or Googling towns. And I like to learn, like yourself, I like to learn, I like to study. So I'll go on, I don't know, Winchester and click on notable people. There's a long list of notable people from Winchester or Croydon or Kingston, a long list dating back from the 1500s. And then you go on Lowestoft, there's like 4 people, me being one of them, you know. So it's hard to be successful because people from places like that, they don't see it. They don't see people, you know, it's hard to be what you can't see, right? And if you can't see somebody coming from your street, coming a famous figure, then what makes you think you can? So yeah, basically I've had the deck stacked against me time and time again in my life. And everything that I've achieved, you know, just being quite negative in this phone call and in this call about like things I didn't do. I won medal Olympic Games. Became junior Olympic champion, 15. First time I ever got an airplane. Went to Junior Olympics and won the gold medal. Became junior world champion at 16. Commonwealth Games silver medalist. I won medal Olympic Games. I turned pro. I boxed in Vegas, boxed in Atlantic City, boxed at the O2. You know, I'm now a professional wrestler, which is mad, but loads of fun. Which as a kid, I wanted to be The Rock, so I'm kind of like living in his footsteps. Mate, it's do you know what I mean? It's I've had an amazing life, and all when this easy could never have happened. You know, like the cards were stacked against me, and I've always like overcome adversity, and I'll take a lot of pride in that.
We're both in our 30s, so I'm not saying we've been around the block completely because, you know, we're going to live a lot longer. We're going to achieve and experience a lot more things. But talking to someone who's younger, who's going to be listening to this podcast, take it from me and also take it from yourself that you're going to go through adversity in any walk of life. In anything you do, you're going to go through challenges. Anthony, look, you were there when, I don't know if this is the right phrase, but your mum was on her deathbed. You've broke your eye socket, your countless injuries, your boxing professional career may not have gone the way it might have should have gone. There was the fight with Canelo where you could have even earned about $5 million. So based upon all that, and you're giving advice to someone listening to this, what is the advice from Anthony Ogogo to someone young about overcoming or dealing with adversity, if you were to condense it?
My advice would be, have a little sulk if you want. Have a little sulk, right? Like, have a little sulk, but put a limit on that sulk. Be like, right, I'm sulking till tomorrow afternoon, 2 p.m. Once that's done, I'm on to the next one. Like, I'm not going to let this, and don't like, just literally put a limit on it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to be upset about it anymore. I'm not going to like dwell on it. I'm moving on. You get all your cries out, get all your tears out, feel sorry for yourself, be pissed off, smash things up, you know, swear into your pillow, whatever. But when that happens, move on. There's mate, listen to interviews like this, right? Yourself, you know, your cousin John, Plan Positive. There's so much resources out there now, right, that people can listen to be positive, to change someone's mindset. So many books out there. Like, it's almost impossible not to be successful. Like pretty much any successful person on the planet has written autobiography, has written their memoirs. Read it. It's like the guideline is out there. They're like, you know, whatever you're going through, there's a chance that somebody's gone through it before and they've written about it. You know? So just follow the roadmap. Now, if you don't know how to drive from Liverpool to London without GPS, like, you haven't got to. There's a map. Like, you don't know how to get out of your slump. You don't know how to do it on your own. Then you haven't got to do it on your own. Like, there's loads of stuff out there. All you've got to do, everyone's got a phone, everyone's got a smartphone, Google this. Like, you know, but just be positive. I always believe that tomorrow is going to be a better day than the day before. And oftentimes it's not, right? But so I'm still going to believe it. I want to believe it. No, optimist is Google optimists, the benefit of being an optimist, like they live longer, they live happier lives, like they live better lives. Everybody can Google it and look at the research. Like, I always believe tomorrow is going to be a good day. And listen, adversity is going to come. And if you think you're a tough nut, like emotionally tough nut, I mean hard, go to the boxing gym, learn to box, learn to spar. Don't even have a fight, have a spar. And when you're getting hit, see what you do, right? To see what you do, see how you react. Do you go, oh, I'm not going back there tomorrow? Or do you go back there and, try a little bit harder and get better? Like you said, like you can learn so much about life from boxing. Just get the fuck up and crack on, because guess what? Life's going on. Tomorrow's going to come. You can either be sulk, you either sulk and be upset about it, or you can get up, crack on, wear a smile on your face, and look for the next thing. And that's my not so short-winded answer.
I love that. I know we've only got a few more minutes and I want to be respectful of that time. To be honest, there's so much more I want to ask you, so maybe we could do a part 2 later on. Canelo Alvarez, Anthony Ogogo. I'm taking you back when you were meant to fight, okay? Let's just imagine that you're there right now, no injuries, prime, absolute warrior, beast of a man. And you got so much confidence. You two fight in Vegas, big fight, headlining. What happens in that fight?
Well, okay, so this is 2016. Canelo. He's gone on to become the best boxer in the world, right? So that's the thing. Like I said earlier, people never saw how good I could be. People never saw just how good I was, right? They never saw that. So I'm going to say what I'm now going to say, and I believe this every ounce of my being. People are going to go, oh, he's off his head. You then get to see what I could do. People can only judge people of what they see. Of course they can. People that know better are the guys who trained alongside me and the guys who trained me. I'd have beat Canelo on points. It'd been a mix of Mayweather when he outscored him. I just outscored him.
Amazing, yeah.
Mate, unbelievable. It'd have been more Khan. It'd have been a mix of Golovkin and Khan. I mean, no one saw how tough I was. No one could really see how tough I was. I thought the whole fight fractured eye socket. I fought numerous fights with dislocated shoulders. I mean, I used to spar Carl Froch. Canelo was big and strong, but like Froch is big and strong, man. Like, I'd have been sparring Froch for that fight. I'd have outboxed him because I was faster than him. Like Khan did. Khan won every single round for 5 rounds and got banged out. Like, got much better chin than Khan, much bigger than Khan. Not as fast as him, because he's obviously lighter than me, but still faster than Canelo. I'd have hit him. And I trained for Canelo. So when I trained the Golden Boy, on our first meeting, that was the fight we were going to do down the road. That was always in the offing. Canelo, you beat people with Canelo, you hit him, you move a little bit, you hit him, move a little bit, you hit him. You can't switch off against him. You can't go on the back foot. You can't let him get into his rhythm. So I had a game plan to beat Canelo, and I've been working on that game plan. And whenever I was working the bag, whenever I had a fight in place, obviously that person's in my head on the bag, on the pads, I'm fighting that person. When I was just training, I was fighting Canelo and Sergio Martinez. In my head, I was fighting Canelo, and then Martinez was the southpaw. In my head, I was fighting. They were the champions at the time, we were up there at the time. So, yeah, I think I'd have beat him on points. And became world middleweight champion. That was my plan. He was struggling to make the weight. He was really struggling to make the weight. Things were going for me. He was an awfully big middleweight. He struggled to make the weight. He really struggled for the weight. He'd have been really dangerous the first 4, 5, 6 rounds, but got tired as the fight went on, because when you take a lot of weight off last minute, you're big for the first 4 rounds, but when you do get tired, I'd have worked his body. I'd have walked away from his backhand. I'd have hit him, adjust my feet, hit him again, move to my right away from his backhand. I'd have jabbed his shoulder, jabbed his body. People jab his head movement's so good. People jab his head and they fall short and get counted. I'd have boxed off his shoulder. These are inside boxing terms. I'd have boxed off his shoulder. I'd have boxed off his body. I'd have wore him down. I'd have stayed away from his right hand for the first 4 rounds, given away 2 or 3 of those right hands, those rounds. And then I believe I'd have beat him on points. And when he gets a bit tired, then I can hold my feet more. I've had more speed than him. Not quite calm speed, but more speed than him. And good footwork. Not quite Mayweather, but good footwork, similar to his. And what I had more than them, I was younger, fitter and hungrier, and could have done that for the whole 12 rounds. And then I would have become a multi-millionaire world champion. Or it'd have been a great fight, would have done it again, you know? I think at super middleweight or light heavyweight, I think it's a tough one because I never got there. He's at his best, super middleweight. I think the weight, my youth and my abilities and his struggling to make the weight would have benefited me in that fight.
I would have loved to see that fight, and as a boxer, that's the only answer you would have won, because that's why boxers get into the ring, because you got to have that self-belief. So, where can people find you, Anthony, to follow you?
So you can find me at Anthony Ogogo on Twitter and Instagram, and just basically that's it really. Keep following me. And mate, let's do this again one day when I'm back in town. Definitely.
This is one more question, okay? When I first started my sales company, I come up with a mantra, which is be happy, never content. I've got my own reason why I come up with that. But if I were to ask you, Anthony Gogo, what does be happy, never content mean to you?
Don't coast, right? Don't coast. Don't content is mediocrity. No, content is mediocrity. Content is like sailing. Being happy is setting, like you're doing in March, setting yourself a goal and achieving it. You're happy. Losing weight, small things. I'll put it back to yourself. Small thing, like setting yourself to lose weight as a New Year's resolution. Losing weight. Oh, you're content. Lost a pound. Setting a goal, i.e., a boxing match. You lose the weight along the way. You do boxing training, you get all those endorphins pumping, you learn a new skill. Have a match at the end of it, win, lose, or draw. You can only be happy because you've lost your weight, we wanted to lose, you've learned a new skill, and you've achieved the goal. So that's different, I think, setting goals and achieving them.
Good man. Look, my two favourite boxers are Floyd Mayweather and also George Groves. They got two different styles, but I know you're really good friends with him. I'm going to be shameless. If there was a way I could interview George Groves and you could link me, you would be the man. But anyway, that's a side note. Thank you. Thank you for your time. If you enjoyed this, please follow Anthony and subscribe and hit that like button. God bless, mate.
Take care, mate. All the best.
Nice one. Ciao. Bye-bye. Bye.